6. And that's fine too. That you started. Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening from Jerusalem, Israel. This is Mr. Lowell Joseph Gallen, founder of the Root and Branch Association Limited, established in the United States of God of Israel, bless America, in New York State in 1981, now celebrating our 43rd year. Today is Wednesday, February 21st, 2024, in the Gregorian calendar. And now I'm looking out the window, that is after nightfall. It is the onset of the 13th day of the first of the 12 months of the Israelite Hebrew year 5784. Why? Because it's a leap year. There's 12A, 12B. In Hebrew, you'd call it Adar Aleph and Adar Beit. We're in Adar Aleph. In a few weeks, we have Purim. And then a month after that, we have Passover. And hopefully we'll see lots and lots of not just hidden miracles, because everything's a miracle, but open miracles for Israelis, all the peoples in Israel, and Jews worldwide, and the whole world to see. Hopefully we will have that. So welcome to we are up to episode 22 of our monthly seminar entitled Ancient Roots Mothering, Roots, Nettles, and Sage, with 3 Madam Co-Chairs, mighty women of the God of Israel, in alphabetical order. Mrs. J. Rivkah Asoulin of the Lower Galilee in Israel, Mrs. Chava Dagan of the Northern Negev in Israel, and with us in spirit, Mrs. Gilla Weiss of Florida, and God of Israel, bless America. Ladies, so glad to see you, to help midwife, be doulas for the world, the whole world, as we're going through the final war of Gog and Magog, World War III. If anyone doesn't know we're in it, I can't help you. And that will help with the wise women all over the world, the replanting and rebuilding for those who survived, which hopefully will include us. We'll see. It's a story where the 3rd biblical book of Chronicles is being written right now, and we're all in it. Okay, the fundraising bit before we start for the ladies and for yours truly. Please support my work to build our Hebrew Bible-based broadcasting network from Jerusalem, Israel, to honor the God-land Torah and people of Israel and all humanity. And I want to thank the small and growing number of people doing just that. And please support the work of these lovely ladies. You will see the links to their wonderful websites down below, and they will be in the monthly announcements as well. We're updating them with new information. And now, without further ado, I'm handing over the mic to Chava and Rivkah and Gilla in spirit. Ladies, it's all you.
Thank you so much, Lo Aryeh. I've said it before, I'll say it again. A true lion for the Jewish people, a lion of our times. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here. And before we started recording, we were talking about Israeli culture, or Lowell was talking about Israeli culture and the friar mentality, and we covered that a bit in, I think, our last episode, talking about being Jews and Israelis in the current world, in the worldview. So I definitely refer you back to episode, I think it was 21, where we discussed that. Yeah, Chava, do you think that we're in Gog and Magog right now?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we're in something. It could be leading up to it. It definitely has something to do with the snowball effect that's taking place.
Well, Lo Aryeh mentioned that we are in Gog and Magog, and we may be, or we may be just entering, or we may be a little bit in. It's hard to tell where you are in a labor. You know, like once the labor is over, you can kind of look back and see the progression and all the stages and where you were. But in this situation, you kind of don't know where you are. You don't know how long this is going to last. You don't know what's happening. It's confusing and disorienting. And really, all we have is our emunah in Hashem, and our love and chesed for one another, to try and help and assist one another through these labor pains of the coming Messianic era, and a time of true world peace. And I guess that is a good segue into what we will be discussing today, which is the top 5 reasons to attend ARI 2024. So what is ARI 2024? You'll see behind me, Ancient Roots Israel. It is the first international herbal conference and community in Israel. This was a project that I began in 2019, before the world knew what COVID was, before our country shut its borders and outlawed international herbal or international conferences for a time, and required a tav yorok and all of these other things in order to go anywhere, leave your house, and masking and all of these things. This was before all of that, when I wanted to bring the highest quality training for the Israeli public in the field of herbal medicine. And I wanted to bring that from outside of Israel to Israel, because that's something that we don't have. We do have some amazing herbalists. We have an herbalist guild. We have some incredible innovations happening in herbal medicine, namely the only 100% herbal pharmacy in the country, Trifolium, co-owned by Nir Abraham, who will be speaking at our conference. So these were all things I wanted to bring to the public. I wanted people to know about herbal medicine as a completely valid modality of healing. It really works, and it puts the people's medicine back into the hands of the people. It's incredibly powerful. It takes our reliance on the Western medical model, on pharmaceutical medicine, on all those government ishurim, on all these other things that you need in order to get medical care in this country and for much of the world. It makes it just vanish. And it puts the power back into our hands to deal with all sorts of health concerns. Sometimes those could be very minor, and certainly when someone is just getting started out in herbal medicine, that's where they should begin, with minor kind of common ailments. And it can go into major ailments as well, like treating broken bones or cancer or chronic illnesses. Sometimes those chronic illnesses don't have any real cures in the pharmaceutical, aka Western medical model. And so people sometimes come after spending years on pharmaceutical drugs, which cause side effects and kind of lead down this slippery slope of more pills and more interventions and more problems. And they kind of come to herbal medicine to just put an end to everything, go right to the root cause, and cure these longstanding ailments for good. It's not 100%. Nothing is 100%. There's no guarantees. I have a disclaimer that I guess I'll say here. Everything we're about to say is our opinion. We're not approved by any government agency. We're absolutely not approved by any government agency. The FBI, the CIA, the CDC, the World Health Organization, the NIH, you name it. They don't tend to be fans of herbalists in general. And I'm certain if they knew who we were, they're not fans of ours either. So we don't have their endorsement. However, okay, so that's Ancient Roots Israel was kind of my attempt to bridge this gap in the Israeli population. It was a two-way gap. One way was for both Israelis and the world to know about the innovations that are happening in herbal medicine and to know about what our options are, what the local plants are, what the ancient roots of medicine, which of course is herbal medicine, of our people, of the Jewish people and others who have lived in this region, what they are. That was one side. The other side was to let the whole world know about what's going on here and all of our background and everything I just listed. But there's a back and forth, a two-way street here. And that was, there is a whole there are many different modalities of herbalism, like the Western medicine tradition. There's different African traditions. There's, traditional Chinese medicine. There's Ayurvedic medicine in Asia. There's lots of different herbal medicinal traditions all over the world. And what I was finding was that we were not getting a lot of influx of those foreign traditions into Israel. And therefore, Israelis and Israeli herbalists didn't have access to these other traditions, and they couldn't, they were unable to grow in some ways, because when we all come together and share our herbal lineage and our herbal traditions, we get more information, we learn more things, we start thinking about plants in new ways. People are using them, using one plant one way in Asia and another way in Israel and another way in Europe. And we start getting a better, fuller picture and better, fuller understanding of the plants. Hopefully Chava will be back shortly. So that was the other reason I created Ancient Roots Israel, was to try and bring in some foreign influence in the herbal tradition into Israel, so we could kind of cross-connect, cross-share, learn from one another. So my first, I didn't think very far ahead back in 2019. I just wanted everyone to meet each other and start collaborating and sharing information. And the first thing I did was create Ancient Roots Israel, the International Herbal Conference, ARI for Ancient Roots Israel 2020. And that was our first International Herbal Conference. We met in person. The following year, of course, the country shut down due to this whole COVID situation. And then the year after that, we had the second International Herbal Conference. And now we are having the third. And that conference is happening this March 10th through 12th, which is coming up in just a little over 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And because of the war, we are having this conference online for the first time ever. So people have been asking me for the past years, why don't you just do this online? In fact, during COVID, I refused to do it online because there's just something about meeting other herbalists in person, walking with them out in nature, smelling the plants, tasting the plants, looking at the plants, standing in a workshop with them while they make up a brew or make salves and creams. And there's something very magical. It's an apprenticeship almost. It's like an intensive masterclass for 3 days. And I just didn't feel that it could be recreated online. However, I did think about it, and I spent a lot of time. What would I do if I didn't have any other options? How would I do this? And all of those trial runs in my mind are now, in actuality, what's going to be happening. So let's see if Chava's come back. Yes, she has. Good, good. Yay. Okay, so Chava, I gave a long intro, hopefully explaining what Ancient Roots Israel is all about and why we're doing it. So we have our top 5 reasons for why you should attend the Ancient Roots Israel International Herbal Conference. And the first one, if Chava wants to take it away, is women's and men's health.
So what I am so excited about with this conference is the variety that Rivkah has kind of put together with people, herbalists from all over the world, from every walk of life also. They aren't just, everybody's just studying plants and they bring, whatever few plants, and then we learn more about plants. Some are studying the stars, and some are good deep dive into women's health and men's health. And so we're getting so many. I'm even talking about animals, veterinary medicine. So we're getting like this huge cross the board topics that are, each one is so engaging. And the women's and men's health, I think you don't probably get that at other places, because it's really focused only on a certain, section of herbal medicine. And so with this conference, we do get to dive deep, even into men's health, where most people are thinking, oh, herbal medicine, that's the women's thing. They go over on the side. but there's a space here for everyone. And how interesting is it, and how exciting is it for also the female species to be able to sort of, help out the men in their family, and then the men to step in and be like, wow, no one's ever told me that before. Now he can take empowerment and sort of take charge of his own health once he starts learning these things that he really can't find anywhere else, because men don't usually talk about these things, and men don't usually have gatherings, and men don't usually allow space to share things that they're also going through. Men are also have their own health problems. They're also aging, and so new things are coming up or whatever. And so this is really exciting, I think, because it's opening up kind of a new avenue for people who might not have really had the opportunity before.
Yeah. At international herbal conferences, which happen all over the world, except in Israel, besides besides this one, it's mostly women. And it's kind of a big joke with my herbalist men friends, when some of them will be speaking at this conference, like, we're always the token men, there's not a lot of men there. But herbalist Stephen Booner started writing about men's health, and his lament was like, I can't find, he's a famous herbalist, he's written a ton of books, and he's going, we can't find anything on men's health. And then when Rosemary Gladstar wrote her book, she's also, so all the names I'm dropping right now are major names in the Western tradition of herbal medicine. They've written tons of books. Please write them down, check them out. Some of these people are my friends. Some of these people, almost all these people, probably all of the people are my teachers. So yeah, Rosemary Gladstar was going, I didn't even have a resource, that to look at, even at other books to cite. So men's health in herbal medicine is a very rare topic to cover. Not a lot of people can do it and have experience with it. But we have Andrew Guerin, also known as the Resilient Farmer Drew. I'm so excited to have him come on. He's an ethnobotanist. If you don't know what that is, you're definitely going to know all about it when he leads you through a virtual plant walk in the tropic region of Florida. But yeah, he's going to be talking about this. And there are issues that are unique to men besides male reproductive organs. And certainly issues come up that involve male reproductive organs. But heart disease, for example, is much more prevalent in men and much more deadly in men. And so these types of things will be covered from a men's health perspective as well. So very, very important to cover that. Also, Shayna Judelman from One Earth Herbs will be, Chava knows Shayna as well. She spoke last year and she's so amazing. She's going to be speaking on menopause, I believe. And then Susan Weed, who's the voice of the Wise Woman Way. If you check her out, many people know her from the 1970s, 60s, 70s kind of hippie movement. Incredible grandmother voice of the Wise Woman Way. She's written a ton of books, including an herbal for the childbearing year, an herbal for the menopausal year. She'll be talking about the 3 different types of medicines, which I think really clarifies perhaps the overlap and the maybe paradoxes and gaps between the different modalities of medicine. So this is kind of like, the herbal wise woman tradition. Well, she'll explain it all, but kind of involving like working from your heart, working from an intuitive place, like working from a spiritual place, like the old shamans that we used to have that would heal people, and really embracing our spiritual powers, the powers of prayer, which of course many Jews know through Sefer Tehillim and all of this when others are ill. So going from there and going into the heroic and the Western medicine, which she'll explain better there. Really, really important stuff, something for everybody, women and men's health. It's a topic that you don't get in many places because people are, like Chava said, embarrassed to talk about the reproductive organs, embarrassed to talk about you know, issues that come up with, say, menopause or things like that. And this is going to be a really open discussion. The minute by minute program, I should add, I put a link in the chat. It's ancientrootsisrael.com/RE2024 program. You can see that if you go to ancientrootsisrael.com. But the actual minute to minute program will be coming up soon. We're just making some last minute changes in the schedule. So you'll have a real clear idea about how that works. All of the lectures will be recorded live. So there's a Q&A time included in all of the lecture times. It's your opportunity to speak with some of the biggest names and the most seasoned and experienced herbalists in the world through the Q&A. And of course, if you're unable to be there live, you can watch at your leisure. The second, the second reason I touched on earlier, I think it's the most important, especially for our times: heal thyself, heal yourself. Take back medicine. They are holding us hostage. We've got to take this back. This is a skill that we need to learn. And, you know, Chava, I'm going to flip this over to Chava because she's very involved in teaching skills that we need to learn for this new era that's up and coming. It is critical. It will save your life. It can save the lives of your loved ones. It's not an exaggeration. Being able to care for the people you love without needing an injection or a coerced medical procedure, I don't think it's going to be so easy to do that. So you must have the skills. Chava.
Okay, so right now, for those who forgot or are not involved, we're in the middle of a war, still going on in Gaza, just right down the road from me. And since this war started, we have no services whatsoever. I mean, I hardly have internet. This is why I'm popping in and out. The internet has been horrible since the war started. So excuse me for that. I'll be back if I disappear. So one of those things that are included in no services, we don't have any kind of emergency medical care, no clinics. We have a clinic physically, the building is out in our area, but there's no one there. If anything, God forbid, happens, we have a long drive if the road is open, because that's also closed down most of the time, to get anywhere. So if I have a child with a high fever and I'm, oh my God, desperate, what do? I need to be able to take care of that child. If someone sprains their ankle, if we get a big gash, I mean, all these things happen. First of all, I live on a farm, so things happen all the time. But in general, life carries on, whether there's a war or not. There's children, there's elderly, there's people walking around outside. Anything can happen. And we have no clinic, no emergency services whatsoever. So there are many people who have not come back. I am virtually living in a ghost town. And part of the reason is that people say, well, we will go out there, and what if something happens? God forbid. Well, that doesn't scare me off, because I'm here. And thanks to my many years of practical experience, as well as learning, I know what to do in most situations, okay? So anything that happens on a day-to-day basis, I have that knowledge. I have worked with these plants. This is something that can happen. And the reason I'm saying this is something that can happen in any neighborhood. This is something that can happen in any area. If a war breaks out or another virus or whatever happens to be, and things get closed down, there's another lockdown. These are things that are hopefully not, right? But their plan is that this is going to happen more and more. And we need to be resourceful. We need to be able to not say, oh my God, I need the emergency clinic and I have nothing to do. We're all going to die. No, calm down. All right, I saw that. I was part of that conference, the herbal conference, and I learned I can go outside and I can find the right plants. or I already got some ready and I dried it and they're in the jar in my kitchen. Thank God I already have what I need and I know what to do with it. So I can calm down. My injured child or whatever can calm down. And we all know we're going to be okay because I have the skills. Okay, so as often as they want to throw these things at us and close down the medical clinics and whatever, our roads and everything else, we're going to be okay. And this is really, 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 like Rivkah said, life-saving information. Okay, so we don't get all panicky and then want to flee or you know, I can't do anything until I get a hold of the doctor. No, we got this. And it comes from learning, and it comes from taking the time, and it comes from practical experience. Okay, I learned this. I'm going to work with this plant. I'm going to go pick it. I know what to do with it. And then we're good. We're okay. And everyone around us will be okay.
You got to learn from people who've done it. And it's hard to figure out. I mean, and that's what I tried to do, was kind of curate the legitimate names, because there's a lot of, you know, Gilla calls them diet fads, and what does she call it? Something in diet fads. It's really funny. But it's like there's always someone saying, do this thing. It's the new panacea. It'll cure everything. This is not how herbal medicine works. It's a skill that you learn, where you learn to assess situations as they come up. And I cannot begin to tell you how many people write on our chat groups for our, you know, separate businesses, on Nettles and Pins for Chava and for Ancient Roots Israel. For me, especially, you know, when there were restrictions on getting to see a doctor, a Western medical doctor. So, for example, I don't know if you remember, Chava, I talked about it in an interview, I think last year or maybe the year before. There was a woman who had an eye infection. I mean, even if you think you're healthy and everything's fine, things come up. Things come up. This woman had an eye infection and she was hysterical because she couldn't get an appointment to a doctor. They said that she would have to wear a mask. She couldn't wear a mask. She didn't, or chose not to wear a mask, but she had like additional issues about not wearing a mask, I mean, that she really, really couldn't. And so she wasn't allowed in any doctor's office. And she was really beside herself with hysteria, saying, someone needs to help me. I'm going to go blind. It doesn't have to be that way. I remember talking with Chava and Gilla about it, saying like, oh my gosh, like there's so many ways to deal with an eye infection. So many ways, so many empowering ways. Like when I've had eye infections, or my kids have had eye infections, Chava can speak for herself, but I'm sure it's the same. I never immediately jumped to blindness and death. And, you know, it's just like, oh, okay, we're going to try this. And if that doesn't work, I've got 50 other herbs up my sleeve that I can use. And, you know, and only if something is really out of my league, you know, do I have to think about involving somebody else. There's nothing, you know, it's like teach a man to fish, right? Like there's something about learning the skills and knowing what to do. It changes your life. We don't want to be victims here. You know, people ask us all the time, even now, I have said, you know, I developed arthritis and I developed, you know, and I have this and I have ringworm and I have whatever, you know, all these things. Those things come up, and they come up, and you're going to have to make decisions whether or not you'll get an injection or wear a mask or do whatever in order to get help for those things. And if you're not willing to compromise, you have a leg to stand on if you know that you can care for those things at home. Besides the fact that pharma doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. And, you know, in my other business as Wise Women Fertility, that's what I do. I work with women who have gone through all the rigmarole with the Western medical model in fertility, and they can't get pregnant, and they've been told that they have infertility, typically unexplained infertility. And they come to me as like a last resort. You know, there's nothing left, and then Baruch Hashem, like become pregnant and have children. And a lot of women say to me, I wish I had come to you first. What
This
like
number, this
what?
is another reason, another one of our reasons.
Yeah. So okay, so whatever, but they don't work. They don't always work. and you get stuck in a cycle, like I mentioned before, you take this and then it causes a side effect and you got to take that. And it's just this endless cycle of things. Herbal medicine doesn't work that way. When you put the power back into your own hands, you can make choices and mitigate those unintended side effects or consequences by the choices you make in the plants that you use. Because you know what could happen, you know what consequences could happen, and you decide what you're willing to deal with and what you aren't. It's not like some statistics book, textbook that your doctor learned that decided it all for you and wrote a protocol for a one-size-fits-all protocol. Okay, prepping plant ID is number 3. So maybe Chava, you want to start with this one? Yeah.
So the prepping is a big one right now. Everyone's like, oh, if it is Armageddon, how do we, take care of ourselves when we're stuck at home for who knows how long? And so we need to be ready. And so part of being ready is having food available and also medicine. If you're going to go out and you cannot drive and you cannot go outside of your property or your area very close by, to go to some grocery store that might be closed down or bring in supplies that there's just no way to do it, going outside and being said, oh, I can eat that. Oh, I can use this one for medicine. And these are skills that take time to develop. You have to be able to walk up to a plant and recognize it, whether it is friend or foe, so that you can provide another meal for your family. So in getting ready for this Armageddon or whatever might be happening outside, out of our control, what we can do is provide sustenance for those days to come. Getting these dried herbs ready is an amazing way to do it right now after all of our rains. Thank God, outside we have so many herbs growing that are edible and super, super, super nutritious and super, super, super medicinal. And so we dry them, we bring them, put them in a jar and put them up on the shelf, and we're good for a year, a whole year, that those things will last us or be ready to be replaced next year. But until then, we know that, God forbid, if anything happens, there's food and medicine right there on the shelf. And you have to be able to know what those are. So plant ID is huge.
Yeah, I was surprised when I started making herbal medicine. I was like collecting like crazy. I was making tinctures and salves and then I'm like had like years worth of supplies that I had to give away to people because I would never be able to use this much stuff. And as the years have gone by, I've started to realize like I just need like one jar one day, an hour out with my kids, wild crafting, sustainably, picking these plants and getting my medicine together. And that one jar can last for years, and so learning how to preserve those things, like learning how to preserve food, learning how to preserve your medicine. It doesn't, the more skilled you get, the less effort you have to put out. And you put a little bit of effort and you've got years worth of medicine. And I know Chava, gets it too. And Gilla does as well. People are going like, oh my gosh, I need this, I need that. And I have these things on hand because I've been wildcrafting and just keeping my pantry stocked. And I can help others, which is an amazing feeling. Also, I think it's important to note that both from the culinary side, so the wild edibles that are super nutritious that can save your life or prevent scurvy or prevent other diseases that can happen when we don't have access to food or we only have access to packaged foods. So like I was talking with my husband about what happens if they shut down everything and shut down the stores for a few days? And he's going, don't worry, the military's going to come and bring everything you need. They'll bring bags of bamba. Did you know that the bamba factories have to stay open during a war? It's a law in Israel. That's the truth. And these are processed foods. And even though they've got 1 billion vitamins and minerals added to them, those types of synthetic vitamins and minerals are not assimilatable in your body. And so you're not, it's very misleading when they say you've got your daily percentage of this and that. You really don't. You're really not up, your body isn't able to uptake and assimilate those types of synthetic things. You need it the way God created it, in whole foods as they grew, you know, apples on the tree, plants in the ground. So anyway, my point about that is that people are asking us all the time, what's this plant? What's this plant? You know, and they're sending it into our groups, pictures of these plants, and they don't even know how to take a picture so that someone else can identify it for them. They don't even know what parts of the plant need to be in that picture so that it can be identified. I mean, basic things like that. This is all the kinds of stuff that you're going to learn. And as far as, you know, as far as the plant walks, especially, we have 3 plant walks. We have a plant walk led by Andrew Guerin in Florida. He's going to be covering plants that are all over the world. So I talk with him almost every night now about how to narrow down these plants, and it's so exciting. We're so jazzed up to, like, I'm up till 2 in the morning, like, no, do that one, no, wait, do that one. So it's super exciting, and we want plants that will also grow in Israel and in Europe and other parts of the world where you know, participants will be attending from. So we've got that plant walk. We've got a plant walk in the Galilee led by Nir Avraham, who I mentioned earlier, who's got the only 100% herbal pharmacy in Israel, in the Negev, in Arad. But he will be in the Galilee. He's working on his PhD up there. He's taking a break from his studies, will meet us outside in the field and show us all these wild weeds that are growing right here in Israel. And then we've got a plant walk at Alalim, which is the largest raw medicinal plant supplier in Israel, both importing and exporting. And so they, you know, the shampoos they use to supply Wisowski tea, I mean, and all the herbalists. So you're going to meet the owners of Alalim, and you're going to walk in their greenhouses virtually with them while they show you these different plants that grow, a lot of the medicinal plants that wouldn't otherwise grow in Israel. And they've done really cool things like bring turmeric to Israel and start growing it in Israel for the first time ever. If you're familiar with turmeric or you've seen it in grocery stores, that came from Peretz and Ronnie Gan and Alalim. So very cool stuff we're going to learn there. Number 4, supporting Israel. It's a big one. Chava?
Okay, so first of all, supporting Israel means that because of the war, Israel's economy, the people are out, a lot of them have been forced to stop working. This does not mean support Israeli government. It does not mean support the army. It does not mean anything connected to whatever. It's just about the people and the land. We have been inundated with anti-everything, not even calling it Israel, calling it other names, and, you know, demeaning in every possible way to its people and the land during this crazy time. And I've gotten, and I know everyone who runs a business or runs any kind of social media, how do we help? How do we help? We want to get involved. How can we do our little part, however little it can be? And it doesn't always have to be, you know, donating whatever. We have raised funds. We have provided all kinds of things wherever everyone can reach in our little circles that we have. So this is more about supporting Israelis, the people who live here, supporting the land and supporting the cause of, you know, continuing without decimating the country just because somebody doesn't like what's going on in the political arena. So anytime Israelis come up with something that is so like this, just amazing, just inspiring, talking about the land and the plants that grow all over here. So we're going to have the herbalists that can walk around this land and show you it's not just about, you know, this versus this. It's not war. It's not, has nothing. This is like Israel on a totally different level, really getting into the plants And as you're walking around, you can see the birds and hear the, in the sky and the clouds and hear the chirping. And it's like, it's a whole nother experience of Israel, and not Israel, the political entity, and Israel, the whatever. So we're really excited about that part, because everyone says, well, how can we support Israel? How can we support? How can we do? What can we do? We want to do something. Okay, come be a part of this conference. And then you're getting it on so many levels. It's like 4D. Besides just your money going into an amazing place, you're part of it. You're getting to know the people who live here, and you're getting to see the country in a whole new light.
Yep, agreed. It's complicated. Our first International Herbal Conference back in 2020 was attacked by the BDS movement, the Boycott, Divest, and Sanctions movement. It was pretty ugly. Death threats, speakers threatened, participants threatened. One of the reasons we're not on social media. So I put into the chat here ways that you can help promote this event and let other people know about it. If people come and there's an interest and I have money to get all the things I need to bring this conference to you, then I can keep doing it. If I don't, I can't. So yeah, people came out, we got a lot of publicity because of the BDS attack, which was great. But it shouldn't, people always ask, like, why does it take a tragedy to unite Am Yisrael? Why does it have to be that way? People came, it was great. People came for the second year. Now that it's online and we're not on social media anymore, it's hard to know that it's happening. But really, we need to support Israel. We need to support the Israeli herbalists. We need to support the Israeli business and business owners, who are all going to be listed here. We just got a message in my group about herbalists for a Free Palestine, which appears to be organized by the same herbalists who attacked Ancient Roots Israel in 2020. There may be some other attacks that have actually started happening to this conference coming up as well. So yes, it's very, very important when all these businesses are getting really embarrassed to stand with Israel or support Israel or have the word Israel on any of their products, and they're dumping Israeli products and they're dumping Israeli herbalists or medicinal plant providers that they import. I'm not going to list the company names. I don't need to promote them since they're dumping Israel. They're politicizing a non-political issue. Healing is, it's plants over politics. It's healers without borders. It's herbalists without borders. We want to just talk about our love of what God gave us on this earth, get in touch with the world Hashem created, eat and heal ourselves in the way that Hashem created. This is not a political issue. This is a love issue. This is a world peace. This is a Moshiach era issue. And that's what we're trying to do right now. So please, please, please come to the conference, but also find the people who resonate with you when you listen to those lectures, and patronize their businesses and develop relationships. Create that old model of the doctor who used to come with the briefcase to your house and sit with the family, and for generations know the children and the grandchildren and all the family issues and all those things. That's what herbalists are doing. I'm already in my second generation and into the third generation of certain families, which is really incredible. So we can do that. We can rebuild it. It sounds like a dream, but it's really happening. This is the way to do that. So our last reason would be, I want to add to that too. Supporting Israel doesn't mean supporting the Israeli government. That's not what I'm saying. I just want to be clear about that. Supporting Israel is supporting the Jewish homeland, the Holy Land, everyone who wants peace and healing and goodness here. That's what we're talking about. So plants over politics, no politics here. You won't hear any speakers talk about politics. We have speakers that are left wing, right wing. We have speakers that have expressed all sorts of opinions, and you're not going to hear those opinions. You won't even know what they are, because we're talking about plant medicine at this conference, not politics. Okay. The fifth and final reason is learning the true origin of herbal medicine. Chava, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, so one or even two of the lectures, I think, I know Matthew Wood is touching on it, is going back, let's just start over. When people think of medicine, they think the doctors, the clinics, the hospitals, and the medicines, and all of the technology that they've come up with, and all the pharmaceuticals, and oh, look how many lives they've, whatever. And then someone says, well, I don't want that conventional. I want to try something else. And so they call it alternative. But really and truly, the alternative was conventional. That's much newer. It's brand new with all the money that's being dumped into it, that has put it to the forefront of medicine right now. But the actual original medicine, truly healing medicine, was plant medicine, always, since God created the world, and he wrote it right there in the Tanakh. Here are the plants for your food and medicine. He didn't say, here, take some, pharmaceuticals. He said, I'm growing it for you. I'm giving you the seed so that it will replant itself every single year. It will be in the trees. It will be on the ground. It will be grasses. It will be herbs. It will be every part of these plants. And you need to learn and get the skills is to know which part of the plants and what to do with them and all of that. That's part of skill building. But the original medicine has always been herbal medicine. Doctors and the famous, what Matthew Wood will be talking about, they were the healers. The doctors were the ones who were using the play, would come with their tinctures and their dried herbs, and they would always know what to do and what to rub on what, and liniments and all kinds of things that you can do with plants. And it was what opened up their air passageways, and it was what healed bones, and it was what took fevers down, and it was what took the rashes and whatever from skin. And it was the medicine. It was the original true healing medicine. What we have now, this conventional medicine, is not necessarily healing. It masks symptoms, and it might temporarily make someone feel like, oh, look, I've progressed. The symptoms disappeared. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, and it might just come back, God forbid, with all of its side effects later on down the road. Plant medicine is not that way, and it never was that way. It got pushed to the side. Even today, the lawmakers in all the different countries are pushing herbal medicine out with their laws and taxes and all kinds of horrible things to try and make people believe that it really is alternative. It's sketchy. You have to be a witch doctor to understand it and use it. And it's so not true. It's the simplest thing in the whole wide world. So we're still fighting this, which is conventional, which is alternative. And hopefully one day the tides will turn. But this is part of learning, so that once you know the truth, you don't have to be scared of plant medicine, and you can easily walk away from the conventional medicine, because you know that it really hasn't been around that long, which makes us the guinea pigs. It makes us the experiment. Whereas thousands of years behind herbal medicine, there's no more experiments. It's all been handed down, written down, passed from one generation to the next. It's got so much behind it. And conventional medicine is literally experimenting on us, and it needs to be the alternative.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back way into our collective ancient roots as Jews, to Avraham Avinu, who wrote a sefer of healing and had the power and knew how to heal. In fact, it says that Avraham sent away his second wife, Hagar, who then became Keturah, according to Midrash, right? And her sons to the east, with gifts. And those gifts are actually thought to be the Eastern modalities of healing. So we're talking about the origins of traditional Chinese medicine and traditional Indian, or AKA Ayurvedic medicine. Okay, so this is the spiritual, the energy flow in the body, and the actual plants and herbs that are used, and how people are treated holistically as a whole body. So all of their mental issues, anxieties, all of those things, and how they play on the physical, and that interchange, we're not we're not cars going to a mechanic. It's not like my brakes, I just need a more oil and some brakes. No, like everything affects me. Okay, if I have a fungal infection, right, systemically, I've created an environment where fungus can thrive on my body, for example. Okay, and so just treating the fungal infection it's going to be recurring until I've treated the systemic issue that allowed a fungus to thrive on my body. That's a holistic way of looking at things, and it's very, very different than the current Western medical model or the pharmaceutical model. So we want to look at how our ancestors, like Avraham Avinu, and on and on and on and on, how they assessed medical issues, how they assessed medicine, how they assessed health concerns with people, how they assessed the plants, how they made their decisions and what they decided. And really the idea of first do no harm came from there, because we all know that is not a real part of the equation in the current pharmaceutical model. I mean, I'm not the first one to say that. They cause harm all the time, But they say, what can we do? I mean, even right down to the Mengele, experiments on our people during the Shoah. And then taking that information, which is basically the foundation of modern medicine, in so many ways, and saying, well, yeah, okay, we had to torture people and do whatever to do this, but it's for the greater good. That type of mentality is a foreign mentality to us, the Jewish people, and probably to a lot of other indigenous people as well. We're not the only indigenous people in this world. But just speaking from our side of things, that's a foreign mentality. That is a cultural appropriation. That's something that we're forbidden to follow, to chase after, to participate in. So it goes really, really deep. I think about also, we understand that the cure is given before the illness. That's one of the cheseds, one of the loving kindnesses of God, that God gave to us. And you can see that the plants, which God says are for your food and medicine, were created before we were even created. Every possible ailment that we could have. Even if we look at some of the, spiritual cures, like the red heifer and this sort of thing for leprosy, which may or may not have been leprosy as we know it today. There's a spiritual and a physical component to the medicine. And even speaking about like animals and burning the animals and using the ashes and all of this, and there's this dove treatment for oh my gosh, the liver disease. Why am I blanking? Help me out. The one where you turn all yellow.
Hepatitis.
Yes, hepatitis. Thank you. See, right out of my. So there's ancient kind of dove thing, if you're familiar with that. I won't go into it in detail here because I know we're going to wrap up, but really interesting stuff. And we're going to cover that. Professor Ephraim Lev, I don't know if you all know who he is, but his work on the Geniza in Cairo is mind-blowing. And he's going to come and lecture about that. So basically, he got into an old Geniza. A Geniza is a graveyard for books and other papers that we Jews are told we need. If a book or a paper has Hashem's name, has God's name on it, we can't erase it, we can't tear it, we can't burn it. When we don't need it anymore, the book's falling apart and all the pages are falling out, we have to bury it. And so there are these collection points that are usually, here I have one near my Beit Knesset, near the local synagogue, near the village synagogue. They're kind of like a big dumpster called the Geniza. And once it fills up, they take all these papers and, bury them. So in Cairo, Egypt, they had such a graveyard for documents. And Professor Lev went into this graveyard and started digging around and reading these manuscripts and learning, believe it or not, all about medicine, which of course was herbal medicine. That was the original medicine. And so he's got fascinating information about herbal medicine in the Middle Ages in the Middle East that he's going to be lecturing about. And what other point? I wrote down another point here, Chava, when you said about kind of the imposter, that pharmaceutical medicine, it's not like a bunch of scientists with beakers in a lab and in white coats, and it's not what we think. How it got started was they saw that these herbs were working, and they thought that they could make them super potent and super, recreate them like a fake clone that they can make in little pills and do this pill for every ill. And then you don't have to go out and wildcraft and get to know nature. They can cut you off from all that, and they can give you the little blue pill or the red pill or the whatever pill for the different things. But they were all based on the plants that were working for millennia. And so the pharmaceuticals are counterfeit herbs, really. They're counterfeit herbs. And it reminds me of J.R.R. Tolkien in his writings about the orcs, because it says, if anyone's familiar with Tolkien lore, the orcs are counterfeit elves. It was basically the forces of evil tried to take the holiest, purest being, person being on earth, which were the elves of Tolkien's world, and counterfeit them and recreate them for their evil purposes, to have the values that they had, the power and the control and all this. And they created orcs, which of course were extremely destructive, burning down trees and destroying things for no reason. Now, I'm not just for no reason bringing up Tolkien in this lecture. We actually have a commandment. It's a mitzvah, not to destroy the fruit trees unless we have specific instructions otherwise, of some kind of place that we might be conquering or invading, or an enemy, usually all three. So preserving the fruit trees and caring for the animals and, of the enemy and all of those things. I mean, this is a whole mentality that is inherently Jewish. It's our birthright. It's this medicine. That's the reason there's a global war happening around it, because it's super holy. And I've got to get this information back into the hands of the people. I know Chava feels the same. Gilla feels the same. Our speakers all feel the same. And that's why we're having this conference. And that's why we're giving it a try online for the first time this year, to see if we can make this accessible to all Jews and everyone else all over the world, because we were all indigenous to somewhere. So even though there's a lot of information about the Jewish people, because this is Ancient Roots Israel after all, this is for everybody. It's for us to learn from one another. I am so grateful for the information I've learned from traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine and the Western herbal tradition and the African and Caribbean traditions and all of these things. And I'm so driven to give back whatever I can give from my ancestral lineage to all of those traditions. So please, please, please share. I've given some ideas about how to share in the chat box. Go to ancientrootsisrael.com to learn more. I'm not sure if we still have Lo Aryeh. I don't think we do, but I think we can wrap up. I'll stop recording and we can do the Q&A if that's okay with you, Chava. Okay. Thank you.